Hello, I'm Will, I'm here with Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And welcome to issue 25 of Mortal Realms magazine, which we're bringing you today. With this issue we got 2 paints, a pot of Balthazar Gold base paint and Agrat's Earthshade shade paint. But before we get into the issue, as always, if you want to skip straight to the playthrough, there's a time code in the description. We're having a look inside. We start off with part 4 of 1,000 Storms, which is the campaigns of the Stormcast Eternals to drive back the forces of chaos from the Mortal Realms at the beginning of the Age of Sigmar. So we've got various little stories here. Over the page there's a picture of Vander's Hammerhand, one of the most celebrated Lords Celestant of the Hammers of Sigmar, and one of the stories is about the visions of death that he seems to receive. Then we have the next part of Magic in the Mortal Realms. This time we're describing light and grey magic, light magic being concerned with illumination and purity, symbolism and learning, and banishing shadow and evil. And that's directly opposed to grey magic, which is linked with deceit and subterfuge, obscuration and shadows. Like all types of magic, each of these is closely linked with one of the mortal realms, the realm of light, which is Hish, and the realm of shadow, Ulgu. It also mentions the pocket dimension called Ulgish, or hidden gloaming, which exists between those two realms. And then over the page a bit about Jade magic, which is the magic of life, strongly connected with Giran, the realm of life, and Amethyst magic connected with Shyish, and also there's a bit here about the Necroquake, which was the result of Nagash's experiments. Then we have some information about Nurgle, the god of plagues. We've seen him before. Unlike the other Chaos gods, he is portrayed as kindly and jovial, and he likes to bestow his gifts upon his followers, even though to many minds they might seem to be more like curses than gifts. Discusses those a little bit here, and how although they seem to be blights upon the mortals, actually his followers come to regard them as being blessings, as they in fact increase the resilience of them. And there's a bit here about the Garden of Nurgle, which is his realm in the realm of chaos, which is a truly disgusting place. Then here we have some fiction, which is about a bright wizard, a wielder of fire magic, fighting against some zombies. There's a bit here about bright wizards, kind of towers they tend to live in, and a little bit about dead walkers, which are human zombies. Then we're going to learn how to add our new paints to the Sigmarite Mausoleum terrain pieces. So as it explains, you add Balthazar Gold to all the little plaques and decorations on the tombs, the sort of weather vane, and the plates on top of the sarcophagi in the tombs themselves, and also this statue. And then wash those areas with Agrat's Earthshade, as well as all the bones and the roses and the grey stonework, which gives them all a bit more depth. And there's the finished pieces with those colours added there. But also coming with this issue, there is a fold-out section on the Forces of Death. We've had one of these already for the Forces of Order a few issues ago. In the centre there you can see Nagash himself, the god of the dead. It talks about the books of Nagash that swirl around him, and also his sword. To his left and right are 3 of his Mortarchs. We've got Arkan the Black on the top left, which is the Mortarch Sacrament. Neferata, she is a powerful vampire, as is Manfred von Karstein on the right-hand side, and they all ride on their dread abyssals, which are the large creatures you see there. All 3 of those characters from the world that was, or the Warhammer fantasy universe that came with Nagash through into the Mortal Realms. And there's also this little bit section on the Legions of Nagash, which is his massive undead armies. And then on the other side, various other factions within the greater Forces of Death. Starting at the top left, we've got the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, who are constructs of bone, and these are sort of Nagash's elite shock forces, led by Catacross Mortarch of the Necropolis, who you can see there, who is a military genius. Then in the middle we have the Nighthaunt, who we're familiar with, but there's the model for Reikenor the Grimhaler there. Also at the bottom, a black coach. And on the right, the Flesh-Eater Corpse, which we have seen a little bit about before, but these are deranged cannibalistic creatures who believe themselves to in fact be noble knights, but really they are revolting creatures of undeath. Sometimes their ghoul kings ride on creatures like the Terrorgeist that you can see in the top right. But with all of that, that's everything for the content of this issue, so we'll get on to our playthrough now.
So before we can get into our playthrough for this issue, first we have to learn all about wizards. So obviously we've seen wizards before, and this is just going over some of the stuff we've seen before, like how to cast spells, and things like Arcane Bolt. Mystic Shield has been mentioned before, but I'm not sure if we ever had a wizard while it was mentioned, but there's a casting value of 6, and you cast it on a friendly unit, and it lets them reroll save rolls of 1 until your next hero phase. Another thing it also mentions is that Unbinding Spells has a range of 30 inches, and sometimes you might have a unit with multiple models that has the wizard keyword. In that case, when they cast a spell, you just pick one of the models to be the caster and measure everything from them. And over on the next page it's just going over Unbind has a range, how Mystic Shield works, and what do you do when you have units of wizards. And we have also got some updated war scrolls, so we got the Knight-Incantor, Xandria Azurebolt. So the new things here are her spirit flasks, so once per battle. At the start of the combat phase, she can elect to destroy 1, 2 or 3 spirit flasks. What happens is each unit within 3 inches of her takes a mortal wound for each spirit flask shattered. If a unit has more than 10 models, it takes D3 mortal wounds per flask instead of just 1. And that does affect her as well, as if she is a unit within 3 inches of herself, and also affects any friendly Stormcast models near her. And she also has a new spell. She also has a new spell. In addition to Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield, she has Spirit Storm, which is unique to the Knight-Incantor, which has a casting value of 7. If it's successfully cast, each enemy unit within 18 inches of the caster suffers a mortal wound, and then until your next hero phase, you can subtract 1 from run and charge rolls for enemy units while they're within 18 inches of the caster. And over here on the next page is just explaining some of the abilities. So you've got the Void Storm Scroll we've seen before, and then the Spirit Flasks and Spirit Storm. And we also have updated sheets for the Briar Queen. So she has a melee weapon now, which I think we might have seen before, but just to mention it here. It's got a 3-inch range, 1 attack, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, -2 renders D3 damage. And she also has a spell unique to her as well, Howling Vortex, which has a casting value of 7. If it's successfully cast, you pick a point on the battlefield within 18 inches of her that she can see, and you roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of that point. If that roll is a double, or greater than the unit's move characteristic, the unit suffers a mortal wound and has its move characteristic halved until the Briar Queen's next hero phase. And we have an updated sheet here for the Thorns of the Briar Queen. So they're essentially chain rasps. They have the ability Grasping Chains, which is a slight variation on the ability that chain rasps have. So here, instead of needing more than 10 models, you just need to have 2 of the Thorns within 3 inches of the target unit, and then you can reroll wound rolls of 1 against that unit. And Barclad the Cruel, he's essentially a Dread Warden, so he gets an extra attack and gives the unit Bravery 10 instead of Bravery 6. And as before, we've got little tutorials here on how each of those abilities work. So now we can finally get on to our game for this issue, the skirmish at Hallowstone Hold. So Xandria Azurebolt has been ordered to take the titular fort of Hallowstone Hold in the forest of Kurnotheal, and as she's fighting her way through, has made it to the courtyard, facing off against the Nighthaunt. So it's a certainly familiar looking map, and we've got the Briar Queen, the Thorns of the Briar Queen, 10 Chain Rasps and 9 Glaive Wraiths, facing off against Xandria, 5 Secators and 3 Castigators. And as usual, you set up in your territory. It's exactly the same as it's been in the last few games. The Nighthaunt player takes the first turn in the first battle round, and we keep going until one side has no models left. Much the same as it's been for the last few games, so we'll just get into it now. So we finished our deployment. Over here on the left we have the Stormcast, we have the 5 Secators, next to them the 3 Castigators, and then just behind Xandria Azurebolt. And over on the right I've got the unit of 10 Chain Rasps, the unit of 9 Glaive Wraiths, the Briar Queen tucked in the back, and then the Thorns of the Briar Queen over on my right flank. And the Nighthaunt get to take the first turn of the first battle round, so we'll head into the Nighthaunt turn. First things first, the Briar Queen is going to try and cast Mystic Shield on the Glaive Wraiths. Also I gain a command point, but trying to cast Mystic Shield has a cast value of 6. Technically I'm supposed to try and cast the spell, and then if it's successful I choose a target, but I'm just going to do it on the Glaive Wraiths anyway. And that is a success.
By coincidence of our deployment, I'm just outside of 30 inches, so I can't try and unbind it.
So in my movement phase, everyone's just going to run. I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the little overview, but the Briar Queen's a Scream attacker and has a 10-inch range, so there's no way she'll be in range to use that. So starting from the bottom going to the top, we've got the Chain Rasps, get to go an extra 6, the Glaive Wraiths, an extra 4, the Briar Queen, an extra 4, and the Thorns, an extra 2. So we're basically just going to move up in a big line. The Chain Rasps are going to stay in line with the Glaive Wraiths, and Briar Queen's just going to tuck in behind the Glaive Wraiths, and the Thorns are starting to lag behind a bit. That'll be it for my turn onto the Stormcast turn.
So in my hero phase I gain a command point, and then Xandria can cast a spell. Unfortunately she's just out of 18 of everything, so my damage spells aren't going to do anything, so I'll just use Mystic Shield instead. So needing a 6, and I've got an 8.
I might as well try and unbind that, because it's the only spell you can cast. Needing a 9, I'll get that 2 out of the way.
And she'll put that on herself on the off chance that she ends up in melee before her next hero phase. And then in my movement I'm just going to move like this, so the Castigators are all within 18 inches of the Briar Queen.
And go on to the shooting phase,
where the Castigators will shoot at the Briar Queen. So we've got 3 shots, we're -1 to hit because of Lookout Sir, which means I use a red die for the Castigator Prime, who hits on a 3 therefore, and the others hit on 4s. We didn't make any difference because that was a 2 anyway, and we've got 1 6, which is it's unmodified 6s, so that does cause D3 hits. 4 3s, so that's 4 hits. And we're winning on 3s, 2. I should have said, as in the previous game, I would always do power to accuracy with the castigators, because power to power of weapons that increases their rend is irrelevant against Nighthaunt. So they would have been re-rolling ones to hit, but I didn't roll any ones.
2 4+ saves. Made on third one. Briar Queen goes down to 4 wounds.
But that's it. Obviously I can't count any charges or anything.
So that's the end of the battle round. On to the next one. Rolling off. I got a 2, you got a 5.
The Nighthaunt's still quite far away, so I'm going to make them go first.
Gain a command point, go up to 2. So I'm going to have the Briar Queen try and cast Howling Vortex. Need a 7. Get it with a 9.
Well, I'm just going to use my Void Storm Stroll and automatically unbind it, because I don't really want to take mortal wounds at this stage.
Yeah, it's not unexpected. So everyone's just going to move up normally. So the Glade Race are going to need about an 8 to be able to successfully charge those castigators. And the Briar Queen unfortunately is not going to be in range to scream at anyone, so we'll be straight on to the charge phase. So the Glade Race are going to try and charge. At least an 8 to get somebody in range. Oh, a 9, that's enough. So the Glade Race can all finish their charge. They can all get within range of the castigators and stay more than 3 inches away from Xandria. And the unit of Chain Rasps might as well charge as well. Going to need a very big roll, at least a 10 to get anywhere. Ooh, an 8. Could re-roll that? So I'm not going to bother re-rolling that 8. Could possibly get someone in range of Xandria to do some damage, but then the Secators will probably just come in and mince them all. Or they just do the re-rolling saves and not take any damage. So we'll go on to the fight phase. So obviously the Glade Race get to fight first. I'm not going to bother piling in because everyone's already in range. And we've got 18 attacks, hitting on 4s and re-rolling everything because we charged this turn. So we've got 8 hits before the re-rolls. And re-rolls. And I get an extra 4 hits, so it'd be 12 hits in total. And then wounded on 3s. Oh, getting 9.
And then we've got 4+ saves.
Only made 3.
Yeah, I failed 6, so that's enough to wipe them out. So the castigators are all killed.
So that will be the end of the Nighthaunt turn, on to the Stormcast turn.
So in my hero phase I gain command point and we'll try out my new spell, Spirit Storm.
All the Nighthaunt units are within 18, so it will affect them all.
So I need a 7. That's a 5, so it doesn't. So we're going to go for the risky play. Xandria's going to hopefully charge in and Spirit Flask all of this to Oblivion. And the Secators are going to have to try and deal with all the Glaive Wraiths over here. Straight to charging. I'll do the Secators first, I think, while Xandria's still within 6 inches of them.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you did Xandria first, you might charge more than 6 inches away from the Secators, so then you can't re-roll their charge.
Only need a 3, but just in case. Now 5 is good. So they'll come in like that, and Xandria will make a charge. She also needs a 5. No, she rolled a 10. So she'll come in into the middle of the Nighthaunt like that. So on to the combat phase. At the start of the combat phase, I will shatter all 3 of Xandria's Spirit Flasks. So what that's going to do is 3 mortal wounds to the Thorns and to the Briar Queen, but it'll do 3d3 mortal wounds to the Chain Rasps because there are 10 or more of them. So I'll roll the 3d3 for the big unit Chain Rasps. That's 7.
3 of the Thorns die. I'll take the 3 furthest from Xandria. And then the Briar Queen takes 3 mortal wounds and goes down to 1. And then 7 Chain Rasps die. And then Xandria takes 3 mortal wounds as well, down to 2.
And I've also got my power to whatever that the Secators can do. I think I do power to weapons, and I'm going to attack with them first and hope Xandria doesn't get killed. So we'll pile in a bit just to make sure everyone's within weapon range, and then we'll get to attack. I'll do the 4 attacks from the Great Maces first, which hit on 3s but re-rolling because power to weapons. 2 6s and 2 3s, so 2 plus 2d3 for 4, so 6 hits. These wound on 3s. 3.
4+ saves. Made 1, so that's 4 dead Glaive Wraiths so far.
Then we've got 7 attacks from normals. Only 3 hits, but I can re-roll. Only 5 in total. Wounding on 3s. Only 2.
4+ saves. Made 1 failed 1, so it's 5 dead Glaive Wraiths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to pick the Briar Queen to go. So she has 1 attack, hitting on a 3, which hits, and wounds on a 3, which does. It's rend -2.
So I need a 6 to save. Oh, I did.
Ah, yeah.
Actually, it was only a 5+, so I thought she had a 4+ save for some reason. Which means I do get to pick her. Yeah, I think the Secators can deal with Chain Rasps, so we will go for the Briar Queen. She has 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, 2, and wounding on 3s. Only 1.
4+ save. Made that. Phew. I'm going to pick the Thorns to go next, so we can get all of them in. And also they're in base contact, so they're closer than the Briar Queen for spellcasting. So we've got 7 attacks from the Thorns, hitting on 4s. Only 3 hits, which wound on 4s but can reroll 1s because there's 2 or more of them within 3 inches of Xandria. Good job we can reroll ones. Right, that was a 5.
Yep.
So you got 2 wounds.
A 3+ save. Made them.
And then the other chain rasp will go in as well. And get all of them within an inch. So they got 7 attacks hitting on 4s. Also getting 3 hits. And wounding on 4s with no rerolls, getting 2 as well.
2 3+ saves. Oh, that's a 1. Down to 1 wound.
So she's down to 1. And finally the glaive race get to go. So we have 8 attacks hitting on 4s and rerolling misses because we're fighting a unit that charged. We don't need it. Getting 7 hits. And wounding on 3s, 5.
So 5 4+ saves. Oh, failed 3.
Rerolling 1s.
Oh yeah, we're rerolling 1s because I do have shields. No, into a 1. 3 damage. So we'll remove that one and put a wound on this one.
And then we've got some battle shock tests to do, so the thorns will be fine. I'm going to spend a command point to make the chain rasp auto pass, and then the glaive race. 6 is bad, anything else is fine. They're fine, they only got an 8, their bravery 10. Well, that'll be the end of the battle round, and we'll be rolling off for the next one. Very important roll. I've got a 2.
Or 3, but I'm definitely going to go first.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and cast Spirit Storm again. Need to roll a 7 though. Oh, I've got an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to try and unbind that, because otherwise everything's going to die. Getting a 9, no, getting an 8. Briar Queen will die, the Chain Rasp will die, the Thorn will die, and the Glaive Wraith will die.
And then we're going to be straight onto the combat phase, because I'm not going to retreat or anything, and I can't make any charges. I will pick Power to Weapons again for the Secretors, but I will do Xandria first, because she might die. I should attack the Thorns, I suppose, because they're marginally more dangerous with their rerolls of wound.
Yeah, there's still enough of them to reroll 1s.
She has 3 attacks on 3s. Oh, she only hit once. It wounds on a 3. Oh, no, it didn't.
So I'll pick the Glaive Race to go because the Chain Rasp are all safe. We've got 6 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 5 hits, and wounding on 3s, only getting 2 though.
And I have 4+ saves. Oh, I made both. And that just leaves the Secretors on my side. Do the big maces first. Hitting on 3s, rerolling. There's a 6 and a reroll. Didn't do anything extra, but we've got 2+, 1 hit, 3 only. Wounding on 3s, 2.
4+ saves, made 1, failed 1, 2 damage so far.
And the normal attacks, we've lost 1 so far, but still 5 left. Reroll these 2 fails. And 4. Wounding on 3s, 2.
And then 4+ saves, failed both, so the Glaive Race are going to be wiped out. Get rid of all of them. And then we've got the Chain Rasp with Thorns, so I'll do the Thorns first. They avenge their Queen. We've got 5 attacks hitting on 4s, getting 3. And then wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. 2 wounds.
With a 3+. Oh dear, now
Hey.
she's dead. And Xandria is killed.
Yeah, and that'll be it for that turn. Yeah, it's my turn next. So, in my movement phase, we're all just going to move till we're 3 inches away, and then both the units will try and charge. So the Thorns need anything but a 2, they're fine, and I'll do the Chain Rasp as well. Oh, 11, they're in as well. So we're going to try and be as inconvenient as possible with our charges, so just about get everyone within an inch, but so this guy on the end isn't quite going to be in range possibly.
Yeah, at the start of the combat phase, I'll do Power to Weapons, because I don't think I'm going to take much damage.
So I'll pick the Thorns to fight first. 5 attacks hitting on 4s. Well, 1. Wounds on a 4, rerolling 1s. I can reroll. Oh, nothing.
I can't get everyone to attack both units, so I'm going to put this wounded one on the normal Chain Rasps and Prime, and this Great Mace on the Thorns of the Briar Queen, and this one at the back. Can't get in range of anybody. I'll do the attacks on the normal Chain Rasps first. We've got 2 attacks on 3s rerolling, so reroll. Nope, only 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. Nope. Great Mace on the Thorns, hits twice, and wounds twice.
5+ saves. Oh, made 1 fail 1, but the Thorns will go down. And then the 2 remaining Chain Rasps get to fight. 5 attacks hitting on 4s. They do slightly better, they get 3 hits. And then wounding on 4s, getting nothing at all. And I'm just going to call it there because I don't think 2 Chain Rasps are going to be able to kill 4 Secretors somehow. So we'll recap this game for you now. So that was the game for issue 25 of Age of Sigmar Warhammer magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, obviously pretty well. I think Xandria Azurebolt is going to have a posthumous medal for her heroic sacrifice. I mean, clearly that action won me the game. I think if she hadn't been able to do that or hadn't done that, I think it would have been a lot tougher for me just because there's so many Nighthaunt, and with enough dice you can grind down the Stormcast.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it might have looked heavily on your favour, but I certainly think it's possible for the Nighthaunt to win.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And yeah, even if you've got a 4+ rerollable, you still get through that with a rend -3 ranged attack and spells eventually. The way to get around that is mortal wounds, so I'd rather have a spellcaster than something like a Dreadblade in pretty much any circumstance if I have to have one character only. I think I probably should have charged the Glaive Race into Xandria. They probably wouldn't have killed her, but he would have put you off doing that, and probably shouldn't have left a gap so you could get the Briar Queen in the explosion as well.
Yeah, because the explosion range is 3 inches, so if she'd been further back from 3 inches from the front line and behind stuff, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And yes, if you charged Xandria while she was in my lines, I probably wouldn't have used her Spirit Flasks because I would have damaged my own units.
Yeah, and if the Briar Queen was still alive, I could blip away at you with Arcane Bolt.
Yeah, it was good to sort of new to the Briar Queen in that sense because she can actually do quite a lot of damage now that she has her new spell.
Her shooting attack as well is very short range.
Yeah, but her shooting attack is a danger to Stormcast, whoever 4+ save. It doesn't matter if I'm re-rolling saves if I can't possibly succeed on them. So, and actually, once again, this game did sort of come down again to who managed to get the charge off.
Yeah.
Because though it's not like 40k where all your charging units get to fight first, if you charge, it lets you pick your fights. So because I was able to do that, I was able to get a good matchup against the Glaive Wraiths and, well, obviously get Xandria into the middle and blow everybody up. And the Glaive Wraiths, once again, when they did get to charge and put all their attacks into something, they took out the Castigators pretty easily. So they're quite dangerous now that they have all that re-rolling and now that there are lots of them. Castigators, once again, didn't have a huge damage output, but I actually took your advice from the previous game and fired them at a character because shooting them at units of chaff doesn't really make an impression, but taking a wound off a character can be pretty useful.
Yeah, but it is nice to have the rules for wizards, at least, starting to get some of the more interesting spells instead of just blipping at each other with Arcane Bolt. And we will start to see pretty much every wizard we have has some sort of unique spell. The Guardian of Souls, I think we should see fairly soon, has his own spell. One that's particularly useful because it lets you bring back models.
When it comes to their unique spells, they're actually quite similar, Xandria's and the Briar Queen's ones. They both basically do mortal wounds in a radius. Xandria's within 18 inches of herself, whereas the Briar Queen picks a point, but essentially it's just dealing out one mortal wound for a number of units. I think the Briar Queen's is slightly less reliable because you have to roll some dice and you might fail, but it does have a slightly greater effect if you give a load of things half their move. Whereas Xandria's one, -1 to run and charge rolls could be useful.
Well, I think also is that the Xandria's one affects everything within 18 inches, whereas the Briar Queen's is units within 6 inches. So it can depend. With a board this size, there's not an awful lot of space.
Yeah, I can easily stand in the middle of the board and affect everything. And actually, we did discuss off camera that had I used her special spell in my first turn rather than Mystic Shield, I could have actually affected your charge rolls coming in. I kind of forgot that the effect persisted, if you like, so...
It's quite a nice extra added defensivity, but I'm sure we'll probably see more of that in later games. And I guess also is the fact that you have your Void Storm scroll, so you can just go, no, if I do manage to cast a big spell.
Yeah, especially when you did cast it was on a 9, and it's just it's a good use of the Void Storm scroll to stop that. And
or a big Arcane Bolt or something.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously if you have multiple Knight-Incantor, then they all get that, so you can actually shut down your opponent's spellcasting quite effectively.
Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that can definitely swing games, is spellcasting. I also used Mystic Shield. I probably should have used it on the Briar Queen in hindsight. I don't think it would have made too much difference.
Well, the thing is, whatever you used it on, I could just shoot something else, so it'd be good if you had a very high value unit and I had a lot more shooting, because then you could make it tougher.
But yeah, I don't think there's too much more for this issue in this game, so if you like this content, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments about what you would have done differently, and any advice on how to maximise spell use and that sort of thing. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.